This is Dorian, they, them pronouns. Um, so I just wanted to ramble some thoughts on the Barbie movie. So complete full spoilers, and knowing me, this will just be rambly and incoherent, but just I wanted to heap some praises on the Barbie movie and some of my thoughts on it. And I have a couple of critiques and things, but anyway, yeah, so I guess I will get into that. Maybe I'll start with the bad first and then get into all the good with the Barbie movie. Maybe I'll do it that way. Well, my overall impressions, so I've seen the movie 3 times now. I really like it. So, it's like first impressions. When I saw it the first time, I didn't see it opening night, and I was just kind of waiting to hear like word of mouth if it was if it was good or not, but like non-spoiler reviews or something. And then I was kind of hearing that it was interesting, but I didn't really know anything. And then I went in on like a Wednesday afternoon, and I was surprised that it was a pretty sold out, pretty packed house on like the Wednesday afternoon after opening weekend. And it was an event, and everyone was dressing up, and like I dressed up a little bit. I didn't have any, I actually went through the whole house to see if I had anything in the house that was pink, and there were like 3 things in the entire house that were pink, and including old clothes from roommates who just whatever. I'm just like anything, and of course the ones from roommates wouldn't remotely fit me. I'd have to cut it and then double it or something. It would cover 1/3 of, it wouldn't go over my head, But there was one thing that I could plausibly have worn, but it just wasn't me. There was this, in the costume closet in the back, there's this bright pink, poodle skirt that, again, my mom, from one of her epic Halloween party costumes or something she'd made for herself for something. In one of, in her costume, she has all these costumes that she did for Halloween over the years. So that would be great for someone more femme than me, but so I was like, okay, and then I literally had nothing pink, but I was like, I have this, I was neon colors, I'll do some kind of Ken doll weird neon color thing. So I had this shirt that is a neon blue with a neon purple pink rockabilly skull on it that I found at was it C2E2 or something, that was really, really cool. This rockabilly pink purple neon skull over bright robin's egg neon blue shirt. And then I had this sort of rainbowy colored button down shirt over that was green and yellow and really garish but fun. And then of course crazy colored hair. And then I had pride socks, and then just these blonde shorts, and I have purple tennis shoes. I never wear them for anything. I bought them in case I might do something and go to the gym, but I never did. But I had purple tennis shoes, so I threw the purple tennis shoes on. They were kind of too small for my feet, but whatever, purple tennis shoes. So I had this kind of odd clown garish neon colored thing going on that I thought was quite funny. So I was like, all right. But it was cool to show up in the theater as an experience where everybody was in costume, and it was so fun. Somebody had a really cool neon beanie. Somebody else was in full hot pink silk pajamas with eye mask, and 2 people down from me, in the dark, was it a unicorn hat, head that they had on, or maybe it was a pink dinosaur, I'm not sure, but a full on costume. It was so cool to see. It was also an audience experience movie. And then I was surrounded by teenagers, I guess because summer Wednesday afternoon, and they were all respectful. That was fine, but this movie was like surprisingly adult from moment one, because again, complete spoilers, moment one is 2001 reference, so immediately I'm loving it. It's one of like my all-time favorite movies, and immediately from moment one I'm just cracking up. And I think I'm probably cracking up more than the teenagers around me, because I think immediately from moment one I'm getting this on a much deeper level than they are. And so it was like part of me the entire movie was restraining my inner impulse to lean over to the kids around me and be like, you'll get this when you're older, you'll get this when you're older. But like, as a 40-year-old person assigned female at birth, this movie is going to hit you a certain kind of way, presumably a lot harder than if you're like a teenager. As someone who's faced a lot of misogyny and everything. But also, I think it speaks a lot to people who are mothers or people who have daughters, or, that mother-daughter dynamic is another big ongoing theme of the movie. But I do think I felt in my initial takeaway that this movie was definitely maybe meant for a more middle-aged audience. It's definitely going to hit harder if you are, maybe in your 40s or so. But yeah, and then my other, like, immediate first impressions was I was just, like, cackling with laughter almost the entire movie from, like, moment one all the way up to almost the very end. The very, very end, sticking the landing, I had some complicated thoughts with, which I'll get to in a bit. Just stretching my foot here, but anyway, I really, so also there were, the parts that I didn't like the first time watching it too. So it's like, I'm really loving the movie, and then got to one particular part where I'm like, oh, you're not gonna go there, are you? And that's kind of leaning into like some negative stereotypes, or I'm not sure if I like that, or like, oh, that does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable there. But that was my only real critique of the movie, except for the very bit at the end. But then overall, just really enjoying it and laughing and getting emotional and like impacted by the movie, and just immediately first impressions, like, oh wow, that was great, like 10 out of 10. I really liked that movie. And then the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. And then so I guess I'll get into my negatives first. Right, with the very, very ending. So, I'm going to keep saying spoilers, so this will be the last time I say it, hopefully. I know I tend to get repetitive, so spoilers. One of my thoughts with the movie is that this is basically Pinocchio, doll becoming a real boy, real person, alive, sentient, self-aware being. And so at the very end with the Pinocchio scene, like, what would be emblematic of symbolizing that the doll is now alive. And there's a few ways you could symbolize that. So I'm like, what was it with Pinocchio? Like, in general, like with Pinocchio, it's, his nose grows if he lies, as the morality tale. And then so he has to learn to be a good boy. And then as emblematic of being real, it could be like this. It could either be the snipping of the strings, showing that he's no longer a puppet. And I think that's how I tend to think of it. And I think when society tells like the Pinocchio story, that's more what they go with. You show that you're a real boy when you cut the strings. But you could also think of it as like, well, the nose shrinks and can no longer grow. And so, you could say like the nose thing. For Barbie, the setup in the movie is genitals. So it's, it specifies kind of early on that she does not have genitals. And I guess that is basically symbolic of, like, okay, she's a doll. And then at the very end of the movie, the punchline then is, she's going to her gynecologist, presumably because she now has genitals, and then that is the defining thing, that is the shorthand to say, okay, she's a real human now. And so that's my biggest critique right there, is, I guess, my initial interpretation of that, of I don't like the idea. Like, I see what they're going with it story-wise, and it makes sense story-wise in the way they set it up. But I felt my first impulse was that I felt, well, that's kind of like saying, like, the defining thing of what makes a woman is having a vagina, and then that is what you're basically saying, of, like, that's where you start the definition or something. And so that made me primarily uncomfortable, and I was thinking that that could be a bit, not, transphobic, or just not, being a little blinders to the fact that that could be maybe a harmful, like, definition for some folks, or exclusionary or something. But then, not everybody is going to have the same, like, initial interpretations as me, and, like, I did kind of talk out some of my misgivings in a Discord server I'm in with other transgender folks, of, like, everybody, weighing in on the discussion. And so then one person said that was not really his interpretation so much. It was, like, showing that, Barbie is going from not so much gaining a vagina specifically as gaining genitals at all, going from having no genitals to having genitals in a general sense of, not, she is becoming human on a broader level. And so I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then someone else came in with the valid point of, like, well, you can't just necessarily say that all humans have genitals. Like, that's true too. I mean, there's a broad, complex, individual variety, in our species, and genitals is a very complex and complicated topic, and there's a lot of, individual variations. and also, at the end of the day, you don't want to simplify everything down by saying, like, what is the one thing that makes a woman, and then broader, what is the one thing that makes a human, and then make that one defining thing a body part, and then make that one defining thing, like, a external reproductive organ body part. And it does seem, why would you want to reduce anyone down to one thing? In an abstract way, it would be like saying, like, well, what makes an aardvark is their pinky toe. Their pinky toe is the essence of their aardvarkianness. And they'd just be like, what? Like, I do so many things. I eat ants. I was watching an aardvark video the other day. I know, it just seems so reductive to reduce, an existential identity down to physicality, down to a body part, down to one specific body part. And then, like, maybe that shows our what's the word? Not anthropomorphic, where we imbue our human essence and bias onto things, our projection onto things of, I think I lost my train of thought there. Train went out the window. Where was I going with that one? Oh, so Barbie. Reducing a human down to just, our overemphasis on reproduction as, like, essence of identity. Like, so going down that train of thought of, like, why would, anyway, backing out of that. So I just thought, that specific ending was problematic, but at the same time, there are various interpretations of it that are also empowering. So then another person contributing to the conversation is also saying, for some people, acquiring a vagina is a definition of womanhood and woman identity, and that is also valid. And for a lot of people, going to the gynecologist is one of the pieces of the pie that is emblematic of the trials of what it's like being a woman. And yeah, all of this is valid. It's all complex, and everybody comes at things from all these different perspectives. So for me, it made me feel a little bit cringe and a little bit complicated feelings, while at the same time feeling like it can also feel valid and empowering to other folks out there. And especially right now, especially topically, when it is dangerous not only to be, transgender or non-binary or intersex, or, LGBT of any variety in this country right now, but when it is especially problematic to have a uterus in this country right now. And so the emphasis on in the Barbie movie, this is a positive to the movie, the emphasis specifically on putting that in there of like, yeah, how Midge was shunned, and the framing of Midge specifically to tell, because you could have addressed any number of things with Midge. You could have talked about how she got married and had a child and was pregnant with her second child as an adult, or but no, the way they you don't have to know any of that about the doll specifically. I think the way they used Midge in the story of the movie is to talk about these issues now of how we stigmatize pregnant women and pregnant people in this country, and like, yeah, get out of the shot, get in the background, and then, so that emphasis on if reproduction or if gynecology makes people uncomfortable and that it shouldn't and all that stuff. It's all wrapped in there, layers and layers of stuff. So anyway, I had one bit of discomfort with that ending, but I don't fault the movie for it really, because it makes sense with the movie and how they set it up with the story. And so that's not like a dig against the movie. It's just my personal kind of complicated thoughts with that ending. And then my only other criticism with the movie on first watch, now having watched it, I still had issues with it on my second watch, but now having watched it a third time, I now really don't have much of a problem with it anymore. So I guess I'll get into it, which is the beach scene. So, when I saw it the first time, that idea of, okay, well, the way that we are going to defeat patriarchy is through, like manipulation, basically, like lies and manipulation and deceit. And I'm just thinking, no. Like, let's talk this out diplomatically and have meetings and like, honesty, and like you don't try to deceive the Kens, you try to educate the Kens. They're just, but again, that's a different movie. It's you can't fault it. Like, this is not a guideline for how to proceed with like productive, innovative, like political solutions. This is a movie, so that for the statement that it's trying to tell, it does what it does well, but it's just like, oh, because like it's like I can feel the backlash waiting to happen, even if I try to shield myself from all of the backlash people who are gonna lean into that, because the movie does play into some stereotypes, like with the women just being, well, like deceitful and manipulative, and then like, oh yeah, and then especially the beach scene is where it really just kind of almost pissed me off, of like, Ken's pouring his heart out to her, and like, really into the song, and then really happy, and then like them knowingly just being that bitch of like just like, who would do that of like, he's at his happiest, and then just intentionally just look away and go snub it, and like, oh, I'm just, no, stop, and like you're leaning into all these like worse aspects of just like, why would you do that to a person, like, oh. And so that was just bothering me on a personal level of like, don't, but again, eventually I come around to being like, no, it has to be character growth, because obviously the correct solution, what should have happened in the beginning of the movie, is the end scene between Ken and Barbie, when Ken is in the faux fur coat and Barbie's in the yellow dress, and, they're talking it out at the very end. That's what should have happened on day one. And of course, if that happened on day one, you wouldn't have a movie. But that's the conflict resolution, was instead of, not talking about anything, actually have communication where Barbie needed to acknowledge that she was neglecting Ken, or like leading him on or whatever, or just neglecting him, and then where that whole conversation just needed to happen. And then she realized that like the snubbing thing that she had done earlier, was not appropriate and not helpful and wouldn't really actually resolve the conflict, so she needed that character growth. So I get it, but that part just, and every time I watch, I'm like, no, you can't do that, but taking my kind of like emotional bit out of that scene, like, and now I can get into the positives of the movie, because those are my only real negatives with it. Like, one of the things I absolutely love about the movie is its integration with the music, and especially with the lyrics of the music. And what do you call that? Is it like, diegetic or non-diegetic, or I don't know. But this is more than that. Is it meta? Or if you've seen Stranger Than Fiction, which is another movie that I love that stars Will Ferrell, and there's kind of moments where I think like the narrator is self-aware to you, the audience, that the other characters are not, or something like that. So there's things going on like that with the music that's really interesting right in the opening. So right with that Lizzo Pink song, which is amazing. So what is that a nod to? Is that like a nod to like opera aria or something, like when you do in the opera, and like the between the songs, the in between talking pieces, when you're singing and then you ad lib, you like sing what's going on as it's happening, or I don't know, but it was just great. It was great how like the song's going along, but like the lyrics are matching with what Margot Robbie's, character is doing, and then they do it on repeat for the other one. And it's like, oh, you okay, girl? Like, that was just like, that was fantastic. And that wasn't the only time that they did that in the movie. So in the campfire scene, everything is timed like exactly to the lyrics, again, to the song, as a Push by Matchbox 20. So it is timed perfectly to those lyrics of like, all the lyrics that appear to sound nice and friendly, like the guy is just saying, nice things to the girl, is when she's listening to the song, and, it's him kind of like being desperate for love and affection and everything. And then when it gets to that lyric where he's saying, I want to push you around, that is literally the moment where then Barbie like turns away and looks at her phone, and then all the Barbies switch and stuff. So then that is fair. Like, that would make sense. Like, that's the moment in the song where you're like, oh, this was a really nice song. Oh, up until that part. And then I think I read somewhere, what is the name of is it Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20? Like, I guess, I don't know, there's some controversy of this song of, like, people are being like, yeah, the lyrics do say you want to push me around, and then I guess Matchbox 20 maybe allegedly, like, we're saying, no, you're misinterpreting it, like, that's the female that's saying that. And if so, like, I could buy that, but it's still bad. Because that's basically you still bitching about your girlfriend and then portraying your girlfriend as a bitch of like, I really love you. And then you mimicking your girlfriend, yeah, well, I want to push you around. I want to push you around. Ha ha, yeah, you're a bitch. I'm so glad you're gone now. Or something like, either way, it reflects badly. or maybe that was a projection because I guess people were saying, no, the way the lyrics are, it does make it seem like it's the same voice saying it and not a duet or something. But either way, again, irregardless if you had followed that or not, in the movie, the way it's portrayed in the movie, they do make it very clear in the movie that the lyric is, like a solo all sung by one guy with him saying, like, I want to push you around. Hence the groans, hence the patriarchy, and why that song is emblematic of that. So again, that was just really clever. So, okay, I guess from start to finish with the movie of the things I liked. So from the very beginning, I liked the homage to 2001, and I liked various homages to different like film and cinema and stuff throughout the movie. And others, like I guess I would pick up on later, or I'd watch other people's reviews of the movie and they picked it up for me. Like I didn't pick, even though it's right there, I didn't pick up on any of the Wizard of Oz stuff. And then till later, people were being like, "Oh, well, Barbie's dress is like pink plaid, and the road is like a pink brick road," and like, "Oh, okay." It's just I'm dense or whatever. But like I picked up on like 2001, and I picked up on a few other things, and it was just really fun energy, and like I like the emotional roller coaster it takes you on, and it's a nice humor. I just really like it. And Margot Robbie's acting is spectacular, and in the beginning with like the miming and just setting up the whole world and the world building like so quickly and efficiently, and again like that diegetic music thing was like really cool, and just that whole like props to the props, like that whole setup in Barbie Land with the houses, and like not just having the props there, but like thinking through like what that architecture would mean and what kind of society that would build. Like, okay, so these Barbie houses were built to be see-through, so for ease of use for the humans to put the dolls in there and stuff. But okay, if you didn't have to have stairs, then you would just fly off your roof and that would be natural for you. And if everybody had open walls, then maybe you'd have a more communal community because you just wave at your neighbors all the time. Like, so they'd really thought through like what this world would look like and what kind of like feminist utopia they wanted to have. And not without its criticisms, because where do all the Kens live? So it's just dystopian all the way around for all the worlds. But yeah, it's really clever. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot of movie references. It's fun to look at visually. It has its own, like, the movie has its own aesthetic and kind of magic realism or whatever, and like world building consistency. It's shot really well. It's edited like really slickly, and all the music is really nice. Let's see, I looked up the music because I wanted to credit some of the music. But But like, okay, Billie Eilish's "What Was I Made For?" Like, I didn't know that was Billie Eilish. I'm so used to hearing like her song of the bad girl. That's so different that I wouldn't have thought that that's the same singer composer. But like that's like really quite a lot of range. And again, the lyrics match with the plot of the song, which is great. Or like that Speed Drive song by XCX, or and then at the very end, like, it plays, because everyone was expecting to hear the song, and it doesn't play in the movie, but it plays over the credits, the Aqua's Barbie World, but then like a cover with Nicki Minaj and Ice Spice, and they do change the lyrics to be, probably, legally less problematic for Mattel. That might have been the stipulation, that you get rid of, the undress her everywhere lyrics. But they aren't replaced with nothing like Nicki Minaj and Ice Spice. Like, there's some slick, sarcastic lyrics in there, and I love how they are timed with, like, the animation sequence, like, with the original dolls, like, playing over the end credits there. Like, that's some nice art music collage there that, I just wanted to keep going, but yeah, that was really nice. And then how it zooms in through the video camera on the back to the end credits, like, that's just really nice. I like those, like, icing on the cake touches, just like when there's really nice, like, end credit, like, art and music and stuff like that. Like, it's thoughtful. Like, everything is thoughtful. There's no like, filler scenes. Oh, I was gonna talk about Dance the Night by Dua Lipa, and then talk about, like, some cool stuff from the cast and stuff I liked. I just like lots of stuff to like about this movie now that I've seen it multiple times, and I can really, like, notice more, like, little details and stuff, or, like, be on the lookout for details. But, like, one of my first initial takeaways was one of the things I liked about this movie is that it's unapologetically, unabashedly feminist and anti-patriarchy. Unapologetically and unabashedly. And it's like, awesome. Great. This is great. And so that's just so refreshing. Now, again, this kind of movie is not like a concept I've seen before where they do kind of like a gender swap thing. Like, there was an episode of Sliders, like, back in the 90s, like, all the way back in the day, where, like, they go to an alternate universe, and in the alternate universe, the women are in charge, but the women are just as bad as the men and pushing the men around. And it was done to, this was a this was a thing that was done a lot to show the ridiculousness of the thing. It'll be like, see how ridiculous this is, that, all the women are requiring all the men to, walk around the house or walk around the office in short shorts. Isn't that a ridiculous dress code? See, to, like, drive the point. So we've seen, this isn't a new thing. We've seen this in, like, storytelling before. Like, I think the Sliders episode was impactful. And to me, that could be another criticism, I guess, in the sense of, like, it's a bit outdated. Like, I would think that, like, okay, we already know that showing the hyperbolic, of the opposite of that is bad. And that just gives fodder to the backlash, too, because then, the people who say, well, women aren't fit to rule because women aren't fit to rule, and they misunderstand the satire. Again, whatever. And so you would think, well, more modern messaging is different than that, and it's more about, you don't just flip things, you work to build coalition and build a thing where everyone has a seat at the table. So again, this movie isn't designed to be like a modern day playbook, and maybe I could be like, oh, well, its messaging is a little bit, like, outdated or whatever, but no, it is, like I said, it's like, it's just, do you prefer Aldous Huxley's Brave New World or Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451? It's the same kind of message that you're trying to tell. It's just, do you prefer, like, a more nuanced, complicated, subtle approach of satire, or do you prefer, like, a more heavy-handed, hit you over the head, obvious kind of, like, hyperbolic satire? Like, you're trying to get to the same end goals. It's just how you do your messaging for it, and each one is going to appeal to different tastes or whatever. And there's the people who are going to backlash anyway, because it's basically like, do you believe that all human beings should be treated equally and completely equally? And if you equivocate, then what's wrong with you? And so anyway, and I think a lot of these lessons, maybe we've come so full circle that we need to go back to being more blunt and obvious about it again. Maybe we need to go back to, bolder, more obvious statements like, I will spell this out for you with the movie is just so slick. So anyway, like I said, I ramble, whatever. So yeah, I liked the music, I liked the attention to detail, I liked it was unapologetically feminist, and then of course, yeah, it's little snark at the end there of like, yes, one day the Kens in this world will have as much equality as women in the real world. It's like, mm-hmm. And again, I've heard that kind of that I've heard that punchline before, but yeah, that's the point. That's the kind of, it's like, get it. We know this is unfair. That's the point. That's the point we're trying to make. But yeah, anyway, um so yeah, I really enjoyed it overall. I guess some things I wanted to point out now was just more of the, like, insane little details that I liked that they did. Um, and I want to mention cast members too. So yeah, Margot Robbie, obviously fantastic, and like just all the complicated acting she has to do, like the layers of acting, like it's so great. There's pantomime. It's so good. There's just, yeah. Anyway, and then I had no idea that Ryan Gosling is also a singer. I haven't been following. So like that was surprising and that was really cool. Will Ferrell, I used to say I'm normally not a Will Ferrell fan, like, with the big exception of Stranger Than Fiction. But more and more, he's growing on me, and he was great in this. Like, okay, yeah, like, I really am warming up to Will Ferrell. Maybe it's just some of his, like, really early stuff or whatever. Anyway, yeah, no, Will Ferrell's fine in this. It's like, and also those pink drumsticks are really nice. But they visually look really good, like, moving against the suits and everything. Simu Liu is hysterical. Michael Cera as Alan is wonderful. Like, for me personally, like, as a non-binary person, like, that was one of my initial takeaways too, is like, as the kids say, I felt seen with Alan. Like, in a world, like, if there had been no Alan in the movie, then the character I would have most gravitated towards would be Weird Barbie, because Kate McKinnon is also kind of like my spirit animal. but Alan, it's like, yeah, in a world of Barbies and Kens, there is also Alan. And then the camera pans to Alan, and Alan's like, I feel confused about this. Like, yeah, I feel seen. Like, I'm gonna get, like, there's a t-shirt that's just, like, I want the t-shirt that's, like, it's kind of, like, olive green with a circle in the middle with the Alan, with the original Alan, like, retro doll on it. This says, hi, I'm Alan. But I want to get something like that with, like, over a non-binary heart or something like that. Like, in a world of Barbies and Kens, Alan exists. I'm like, that's great. Alan's great. And yeah, and like, you can see how Alan, like, could identify as male, but also not identify as one of the frat bros, and like really does, like, is a feminist and does identify more with the Barbies in a lot of ways. Like, is in the courtroom wearing the pink jumper suit when they're voting to, fix the Supreme Court and fix the Constitution. So anyway, and I love the dance moves. I love the choreography, like the way that Ryan Gosling, like, just kind of like glare, snarl, disco danced. Like, it was great. Yeah, the Dua Lipa song, and when everybody's doing, like, the disco number, and Margot Robbie's in like the gold glittery, like, disco suit, and there's a Barbie of that, and it's really cool, of the disco Barbie. But yeah, it's like very like ABBA, and like the song is very kind of like modern disco, and it's really fun. Like, the whole movie is great. And then for my like criticism of the ending, of thinking that maybe that was a little bit possibly blind to, like, being a little bit not transgender inclusive enough or something. I did not even know that one of the main, like, main extra Barbies is actually a transgender woman. I'm like, oh, so that kind of softened the blow for me a bit too. I'm like, oh, that's really, really great that one of the main like background Barbies who has a prominent speaking role is a transgender woman, Hari Neff, and she's Dr. Barbie. I'm like, oh, her performance was really great. Like, I loved how she did the glasses scene. Like, that was really cool. For all that glasses tropes, like, you had that, like, she's all that and everything, where she's all that, just, like, she takes off the glasses. Like, so that was fun. And, like, Issa Rae as President Barbie. And again, with her introduction into the room, coming into, like, Lizzo's music cues of, like, Black woman President Barbie. Like, it was just glorious. Like, this movie is so fun and, like, so clever. And, yeah. Okay, so then I basically wanted to just give, like, I wanted to, talk a little bit about, hopefully I get the names, I'm gonna try my best with the names, Chudi Gatwa and Kingsley Benadir. Chudi Gatwa and Kingsley Benadir, like, I don't know if they're not getting enough credit. Like, obviously everyone's going to talk about, like, Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling and probably Simu Liu a lot. But, like Chudi Gatwa was, like, cracking me up, just, like, the way he was, like, doing the, like, fight tennis. And, like, a lot of his, like, lines and delivery were just, stretch my legs. Just, like, really great. And then Kingsley Benadir, man, like, okay, so I did not watch all of Secret Invasion. Like, basically, I just watched, like, the first episode, and I didn't like it, and I, like, watched part of the second episode. I'm like, this is not for me. And then I didn't care to watch the rest of it, but I watched people's, like, I was like, I'll do spoilers and stuff. So I watched people's reviews of it with spoilers and, saw how the train wreck it became and everything. But I will say, everything I saw in Secret Invasion with Kingsley Benadir in it, and all the clips I saw from, and of what I saw, Kingsley Benadir is fantastic, even though, like, Secret Invasion was, like, schlock of, from what I saw and from what I've seen and everything. But, like, Kingsley Benadir is so, very serious and very, like, dark and very, a lot of, and then presence there. And then Kingsley Benadir's Ken in this movie is, like, so basically the man has range. The man has tremendous range. And that in and of itself was just cracking me up. Like, he's just, like, great. And I just loved, like, I love the, like, punchline, too, at the end where, like, when he gets the faux fur coat, and then he does the kind of voice change of, like, we only fought because we only fought because we were lost ourselves, or something like, it was great. It was just so great. The movie's fantastic. So, okay. So, I guess then I just wanted to maybe end on, like, little details that I picked up this time on my last watch. So, I watched a couple of videos in the meantime on YouTube, going down little rabbit holes of, like, just Barbie doll related videos and what retro Barbies and Kens looked like and stuff like that. And then coming into this one, I could pick up more on that to kind of recognize that, a lot, I don't know if all, but a lot of the outfits of a lot of the Barbies and Kens and in the movie, I would expect them to all be, actual real dolls. And so it was kind of neat for me to, like, learn some of those references that probably people already knew. And then once I saw that, then I could start pointing that out. Like, right in the opening is the like, ultra long hair Barbie. She's in there. The one my sister had was Magic Earring Barbie in, like, the hot pink over the pink fishnet with the big silver earrings. And that outfit's not in the movie, but Margot Robbie wore that outfit in one of the premieres, promoting tours or something. And then what were the other Barbies to recognize specifically? Well, like, so Alan has the Alan shirt. But just, like, little details, like, I was watching a Ken video earlier, and it was showing how, like, there were some, like, really fantastic Ken outfits until you got to, like, the later 90s when it started to get more, like, kind of hetero and bland and, like, like, there was this one shirt that was kind of boxy that was, like, kind of blue and green and red or something that I remember because I just watched that earlier this morning. And then when I saw the movie again, at the very end of the movie, I think it's Chudi Gatwa's beach outfit in the last scene, I think is like a cooler version of that shirt maybe because it's like those cut like the blue with like a green stripe with like a red stripe but slightly better colors so it doesn't look dull and then cut into like this sleeveless summer tank thing. And so that's really cool to be like interesting ways they pay like homages to like other like Barbie outfits and stuff. And then another thing I noticed that's fairly obvious, I think, once you know, is that like, okay, so there had been black Barbie dolls prior to 1980, but they weren't called Barbie. They were like friends of Barbie. So what was it like? Was it Christy or something? Christy maybe? I don't know. There were like one or two, I think. Go watch like Trixie Mattel's like History of Barbie. Like she goes through like or you know, he goes through all of them, but like but in 1980 was the first time they released a doll who they called Barbie, who was black Barbie, and I think it was 1980. And that doll has kind of like a really circular afro, I get, you know, and then like this red dress, and it's supposed to be a necklace, but it's like part of the dress, but it is a necklace. It's like this bright gold like crescent moon shaped necklace, and then like this like kind of dark red or bright red dress. And so like somebody in one of the videos was pointing out that like it's very different like color palette than what you think of like stereotypical Barbie with like hot pink or something, or black or something, mostly hot pink. So this was very different with the red. And then when you look at well, I know Issa Rae's President Barbie does it at the very end with the tracksuit, but no, I was thinking another character. Oh, I had the cast up again. Was it? Oh, I guess it'll come to me. But the red and gold, like you see that in the fashion too. Like of course you do. Like Issa Rae has a just trying to get the cast up here again. Was it? I think it was, yeah, I think it's Alexandra Shipp's Barbie. She's like, well, one of the Barbie. I think it was Alexandra Shipp's Barbie, but also Issa Rae's Barbie, and maybe some other ones. Basically, they had black Barbies having homage to that outfit because in the scene where the Barbies have to trick the Kens, and Alexandra Shipp's Barbie, the Nobel Prize Barbie, has to sit down and pretend that she doesn't know how to use Photoshop or something. She's got like a bright red corset with a gold necklace with an homage to that. And at the very last scene where Issa Rae, President Barbie, is coming down the stairs, she's in this thing that at first I thought it was like a red and black like tracksuit. I think it sort of is. I think it's like white pants with red stripes and then a white thing here that sort of looks like it could be a tracksuit, but then cutouts with red or something. So it's like maybe it's merging like a white coat, but like seriously, the white with like the little stitching circle that said president here reminded me of like maybe like a lab coat you'd see a Costco, not Costco, CVS technician wear with like the big kind of red logo on the white coat or something. But it was the red and white, but it was a lot of red, and then it was like the dark red shirt here with a gold necklace. And then earlier there was at least 3 outfits. So I noticed that red with the gold necklace. So that was really cool. So again, just like noticing all these little details and stuff. Like, and some of the Barbie things I knew from even the first watch. Like, I knew about that dog that you'd put the pellets in its mouth and then it would poop it. And so that's hysterical. Although there are creatures that do that. don't rabbits do that? Like coprophages, there's nutrients in there. Why not eat it twice? Whatever. But and then there's some creatures that only have one tube, so they eat and poop out of their mouth, like sea urchins. You just wouldn't have a dog do it, but like if you made it a rabbit, then that would work. But anyway, I remember that toy, and it's weird and it's gross. But anyway, so then and I remember video camera Barbie. And I thought I remembered Skipper Boo Barbie, but no, that would have been before my time, because I guess Skipper Boo Barbie was like 1975. But yeah, the commercial you could see is like the idea, the concept was that you wanted to show her aging from like 8 to a teenager. So, what somebody was saying, I'll have to find his video and link it, but what he was saying was that somebody was saying was that like Skipper had been like a little sister to Barbie, like 8, and then at some point I guess the marketing team wanted to age her up to being like a teenager, to like market more to teenagers or something. So in that doll that they had, you could age her up where she could go from 8 to 12 and then back to 8 again. And I guess that could be an interesting way to explore puberty, but I don't know who came up with it, like why. But yeah, it's you raise her arm or something and she like gets taller and then tits explode. And it's like, oh god. And then I think you have to deflate them to get it to shrink back to 8-year-old. It's so gross. It's like, yeah, why? But that was a thing that existed. But I seem to remember something like that where you had to like crank the arm or something. There was another weird Barbie. I don't know if I remember this. I think it was just from a video I watched on like Top 10 Weirdest Barbies, where like you press the head and then she would go like or something, and it would like you're supposed to put like little lipstick on her, and like she'd like I could see you making that into a stamp or something, but it was just weird how like her head would like kind of pop out, like tilt up, and you could see that mechanism probably breaking. Or no, I think you had to press her chest for her to go like that. But you could maybe you convert it to teaching CPR compressions instead or something. Yeah, because then you do the chin lift, chest compression. Just convert it into a CPR doll instead. I don't know, get rid of the Kissy soundtrack. That was a weird doll. No, but there was something. Oh, I think there was a Barbie, maybe it was a McDonald's toy Barbie, where you cranked the arm and the hair grew. And then the hair would go back into the skull. And then you would lift the arm and then the hair. That's probably what it was. Maybe we had one of those. My favorite personal Barbie memory, though, I can't remember if it was my sister's magic earring Barbie. If it was that one, or if it was like a McDonald's toy Barbie, or if it was a different Barbie of hers. I think I had a weird Barbie way back in the day. I think I did. I think I like cut all of its hair off and like burned its hair or something. I don't remember. But I wasn't really big into Barbies. Like My Little Ponies was my thing, and like stuffed animals was my thing. But like my sister had Barbies. We had American Girl dolls, although I didn't really play with it all that much, but I read the books. But anyway, I was like into Goosebumps. I was into like anyway, lots of things, but more like stuffed animals. But like kindergarten age would be like stuffed animals and like My Little Ponies, and like getting hordes of ponies and then having them go to war with each other, because of course they would. I don't know, but anyway, so one of the Barbies ended up being our beloved former cat Diesel's absolute favorite toy in the world. And so I remember it as a cat toy. So maybe it was a McDonald's one, because it wasn't that big. It was like maybe about yay big. And its hair was no longer, it was just like this just like fuzz of something. And like this wad of tangled fuzz wad. And like our cat would, and like we'd throw it and the cat would fetch it and bring it back to us. and we'd like throw it down the stairs, and he'd pick it up and bring it. So it was his fetching toy, and he'd like carry it all around the house, and he'd make a specific cry when he had like the Barbie in his mouth, like, and like he'd be like, oh, and you'd hear him coming around the corner, like, oh, it's the Barbie cry. He's, and he would play with the Barbie with himself, where he'd like throw, you'd just be sitting, like, one of my mom's memories is like she's sitting on the couch with her feet out on the like footstool, and she's just sitting there watching TV, and then she just sees a Barbie go phew, phew, and the cat is like throwing the Barbie in the air and then catching it and then throwing it in the so that is my absolute favorite Barbie memory for years was, oh, speak of cat, is this cat toy. Speaking of a different cat, Barbie. It was Diesel's Barbie. The Barbie belonged to the cat. It was a great toy. Anyway, so the movie was fantastic. So yeah, so I liked the music. I liked how the lyrics like synced up what was going on. I liked the fashion, and you can see how the fashion is like telling a story too if you like watch what Sasha, like, I think she's a Bratz doll too, what you watch her fashion throughout the movie, and it's like an evolution of her mood over time, like going from darker to lighter, and it's just really clever and really slick. I'm trying to think what other like little details I really like. Oh, well, yeah, so I liked all the dysfunctional. I was talking about the dysfunctional Barbies. I liked, I'm talking about Barbies that I remember that they had in there. So, like, the crazy hair Barbie, the camera Barbie, then there was the boob Barbie, the rollerblade Barbie, I seem to recall that one. I don't know. Oh yeah, Barbie. There was a nod to like Barbie playhouses and like remote control. Like the merchandising for this thing. This thing is like somebody said. I think Double Toasted said, or somebody said, like Dan Morrell. Like this movie is just printing money, and like I would like to see like some of the merch sales on this thing. Like they just released like a Wave 2 line of Barbie dolls inspired by the movie, like Ken in the faux fur coat, and the rollerblading Barbie and Ken, like in the dolls and the outfits from the movie. Like all of these, they were released and they're like already sold out. And like the thing is, I don't know if that's like legitimate demand or if that's just all like just scalpers like already over consuming it and then overselling it, and like how much of that is like scalpers and how much of that is legitimate demand, or like is Mattel like intentionally like under distributing it to have like to hype up like rarity issues or something. Like I don't, is it distribution issues? I don't know, but it would be interesting to see like did they, was that an intentional thing? Are they supposed to be rare collector's items? I don't know, but it'll be interesting. Like this thing is just printing money. But yeah, so it's still pro corporate, but it's still slick and it's still sardonic, and it really touches on how Barbie is a very complex emblem that is sometimes embodying feminism and sometimes embodying misogyny and all of the above, and can be harmful to people and be meaningful to people and all of the above, and it manages to do that with humor and make social commentary and just be an interesting movie that's thoughtful, that's fun to look at and fun to experience, and it's just a really solid movie. Like I said, not without some criticisms or whatever, but really solid, really fun. Now, I should probably just end it there. That's definitely enough. I guess my only other thing is just like, that Mattel might be taking the total wrong message with all this and making like some Mattel MCU universe and, some Hot Wheels movie and like a Magic 8 Ball movie and like, I don't know, like no, like I don't know if any of them are gonna be good, but no, like this thing is like this Barbie thing is like a one-off. Like I don't I don't want a sequel. Like can't something just exist and be one thing and not be like a franchise? Like please, like let us have like one-off good movies. Like Jaws, like 2001, like not everything has to just be like endless slog of whatever. But yeah, no, not to detract from this. This was really fun, and also props to like what this is the first movie solely directed by a woman to gross $1 billion. I don't know if that's adjusting for inflation or not, but it's also because, there's been so much gatekeeping to keep women from being directors. So anyway, but yeah, so this is just great. It's a fun time. Like, I don't know if like kids and teenagers will get as much out of this as like middle-aged folks, but at the same time they might be enjoying it on a whole new level because it's wacky and silly and fun and sparkly and song and dance, and it's just great. And it's so openly feminist, and it's so openly like there's positive masculinity in there, and like pro LGBT, and like there's tenderness, like Ken's not a bad guy, and like a lot of the line, like how he like lets Simu, like is it Simu Lu, or lets two other Kens kiss him in the dance number, and like is just totally fine with that, even as he's like ostensibly the poster boy for like heteronormativity, arguably is Barbie's pair bond or whatever, but like he's also secretly been a symbol for like gay men too. Like again, these dolls are just emblematic of whatever people project onto them too. Because that's the idea, is that it can represent whatever you want them to represent. There's a really fun video where when I'm watching all these little YouTube snippets, it's like on time of some of the main actors just playing with Barbies, like Kate McKinnon and Margot Robbie, Issa Rae, Hari Neff, and I think maybe Alexandra Schiff. Unfortunately, I'm not sure. But they're just given a bunch of Barbies and a bunch of clothes and a bunch of whatever, and just make a punk Barbie, make a Met Gala Barbie, make and then they just have fun with it, and they come up with different stories, and like I'm just vibing with like Kate McKinnon, and she's like, this Barbie went undercover as a Manchurian candidate and dismantled the system from within, and I'm like, yes. And it's like joyous to see like adults just playing and being creative and imagining with things with dolls, if you just allow people to be creative. So it's just cool. It's just fun. And Margot Robbie's acting is phenomenal, and like Ryan Gosling's acting is phenomenal, and showing that complicatedness, but also that kind of tenderheartedness, and like it's just a really great movie. There's so many great moments, like sublime. Like it's just so great. Like anyway, so I guess I am just going to end it there. Okay.